Okay. We are live. How's it going, Ryan?
What is up, my man? So excited to be on with you today. Man, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm seriously so excited. Like I told you a little bit before, we posted about this 2 days ago, and obviously a lot of people hadn't heard of you. Said, "Man, I want to hear more about this." But every single person, 100% of the people that had heard of you, only positive things to say, ranging from, I've heard what they taught, it's amazing, to I've done what they taught, and I'm rich. Anywhere between there.
Well, that's a good spectrum. I like it. You hear it, it's good. You do it, it's even better. So I love that, man.
So most people don't realize this. We're actually neighbors. We just found Ryan is moving about 5-10 minutes away from my house. In fact, he just moved a couple days ago. So
yes, sir. And Spencer just committed, even though he didn't commit. He just committed. He's going to go mountain bike riding with me because we live in the mountain bike riding mecca of the entire United States right here in our backyard, Spencer. You know that?
I've heard that, and I have a semi-decent mountain bike. I have a bike that can ride in the mountains.
All right, dude. We're going to hit the trails, man. It is the most exhilarating rush. It is so fun.
Welcome to Utah. I do see a lot of the bikers riding around Utah, and usually it's like in my car, and they're like, right next to the road. And I'm like, I'm going to kill that bike or an accident. But
we're not riding on the road. We're going to get up in these mountains and hills all around us, man. That's where the action's at.
Awesome. Okay, we just sent out an email. A lot of people start popping on now. Email just sent, probably is going out right now. And people start hopping on. And Ryan, you've got like a presentation and stuff. We're going to hear your story. We're going to hear how you guys came up with this. I just want to say before we start, how much I want to vouch for this. Having had multiple discussions with what they teach, doing things that they teach, this is like the real deal, valuable stuff. So with that being said, Ryan, let's see what you got to say.
Let's do it, man. Spencer, I'm so honored. I was talking to you about that before we went live in your community. But look, guys, whoever's on with me right now, your most valuable resource, my most valuable resource is my time. It's your time. It's our attention and what we focus our attention on that will lead to the quality or lack thereof of our lives. So if you're paying attention today, I want to honor your time. I want to honor your attention. I want to deliver the maximum amount of value that I can. So I'm going to dive right into it. And Spencer, this is your community. You know them better than anyone. So as we go through this is truly meant to be an open discussion. I know I can't specifically talk to you, but I'm going to invite you to comment a hashtag to be an engaged participant in what I share with you today. Because my hope more than anything is to give you a different perspective around money, what it is, what it represents, and ultimately what is possible with it, with the right framework for an entrepreneur. So with that in mind, let's dive into the conversation today. It's really, and hopefully Spencer, everyone can see this all right. But look, the conversation today is about how you, if you're an entrepreneur, can create what we call untouchable wealth. And the way to do this, the pathway for doing this is twofold, right? Number one, it's permanently cutting and reducing your tax bill by at least 5 to 6 figures or more. And then number two, it's about creating a stream of cash flow independent of your business. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. Some of you, Spencer, I appreciate, might know me. You might know me through a company called CASHFLOW Tactics. This message is curated and customized specifically for entrepreneurs. And inside of Altitude, where we work with entrepreneurs, our focus is to empower you with that tool of money, because that's really all it is, Spencer. It's a piece of paper. It's a number in a bank account. It doesn't really exist. It's an agreement. And so it's to really help people understand and empower them with money to be able to thrive in their businesses and create untouchable wealth outside of their businesses. I believe, man, Spencer, we live in, I don't know if we ever could have predicted the time that we live in, but we live in a crazy time right now. And man, you turn on the news and it's like, oh my gosh, everything is falling apart. No matter what your political beliefs are, I think we can all agree that the world has some problems right now. And here's my belief and truly my mission. The answer and the solution to the problems that we all face as a society and as a community and as a global economy, like those problems will never be solved by politicians, period. They just won't. The answer and the solution to problems is through you. It's through entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have always been the innovators, the drivers of positive change. And my mission as an entrepreneur is to empower and inspire you as an entrepreneur to play the game, to be successful in the game, and ultimately to thrive as an entrepreneur, both personally and financially. And so that's really what the mission that we're on. We want to work with and empower 10,000 entrepreneurs in this game of money. So let me qualify who you might be if you're on this conversation with me today, okay? You know, we talk to entrepreneurs in all different walks of life, and you might be a starter. You might just be getting going. And the hope for what I'm going to share with you today, if you're a starter, is to give you the number one thing that you need inside of where you're at when it comes to money. It's the focus, right? As soon as you get in the game of I've got a little bit of money, I promise you everyone's going to come chasing you down with what you should be doing with your money. So my objective today is to help you focus on the most profitable investment that you can make as an entrepreneur. And then number two, if you're already in the game, if you've been following what Spencer's been talking about for years and years and years, and ultimately what he's done, then I want to show you a pathway how you can use your business profits to accelerate your personal profits and become untouchable. I love this word. I'm going to talk more about that as we go through this. But look, the reality of it is, I'm a founder of CASHFLOW Tactics. Many of you know me in CASHFLOW Tactics. I'm also a founder in a company called Altitude Strategy. And the birth of Altitude Strategy was to serve entrepreneurs more fully. We realized inside of CASHFLOW Tactics, the primary audience over there were 9-to-5, W-2 employees. And I love that. But we wanted to serve entrepreneurs. We got in this game originally to serve entrepreneurs. So we launched Altitude Strategy to do just that. I have done, just like Spencer has done what he teaches you how to do, I've done exactly what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to show you how to use a very simple and basic strategy to thrive as an entrepreneur and achieve financial freedom, and why that is so critically important. And then over the years, I've had the privilege, the opportunity, and I would say the sacred honor of helping thousands of people on their path to becoming financially free. We live in one of the most beautiful spots in the entire world called Utah. And I love the perspective that comes when you stand on top of a mountain. So here I'm on a peak called Angel's Landing. And one of the missions inside of CASHFLOW Tactics is to empower you to rise up, to take control of your life and your money so that you can live free. Now, inside of both of these companies, I get to work with a pretty amazing individual. Many of you have met Brad. Some of you might not have met Brad. We have a really hard time putting Brad on the front end, talking to people in the beginning, because Brad is freaking genius.
He's so smart.
He is so smart. And sometimes you leave a conversation with Brad and you're like, I'm trying to pick up the pieces of my brain that melted on the ground. And so my friend, look, here's the reality. Brad has been a blessing to my life. And collectively, we have 16 years of experience. We've helped people save millions of dollars in taxes, both now and into the future. We've secured for the people that we work with over $52 million in tax-free vehicles. We've helped people put their capital into cash flow investments over 2,200 times. And here's the thing I'm most proud about. And I want you to consider this for just a moment. Our community right now generates $1.5 million on average every single month in cash flow, and that number is climbing. $1.5 million every single month in cash flow. And that's what we've been able to help other people achieve. But I do have a little bit of a warning for you as we get going. I do play in the financial space. And for any of you that have ever talked to a financial person of any kind, I'm going to apologize right now. We are the worst, right? We tell you what to do with your money. We think we're smarter than you. Look, here's the reality, guys. I got into this game not because I wanted to become a financial advisor. I got into the game a lot like Spencer got into the game. I had some money. I couldn't figure out how to keep the money I had. I couldn't figure out what to do with it. And so I had to figure it out for myself. And along the way, I found out I really like helping people live a purpose-driven life, being empowered with money. So even though we are the worst, I'm going to invite you to put any preconceived notions of what you think financial planning is up on a shelf for about an hour, because I'm going to share with you a radically different perspective of how to play the game of money. And I want to do this with a little bit of perspective of where I came from. Okay. So Spencer, I followed all of the rules. Well, in the beginning, I didn't. I never followed. In fact, I dropped out of high school. I didn't love going to school, but about the age of 23, I met this lovely woman right here. And I thought to myself, man, I got to grow up. I got to be a better human being. And for me, I knew the rules, right? And I plugged into the rules so easily without ever even thinking about it. And what are the rules? Well, you go to school, you get a job, because that's a responsible thing to do. And when you have a job, you work really hard and you save money, and one day it all works out, right? And so that's the program I plugged into. And I'll never forget when I got my first paycheck. So I did my 4-year college degree in 2 years. not because I'm smart, because I didn't want to be there. I just ran through it as fast as I possibly could to check the box that I graduated college. That's all I was doing. And I did the whole thing using an entrepreneurial side hustle to pay my way through college. I graduated debt-free using an entrepreneurial side hustle. But I remember when I got that first paycheck, what should have been validating and rewarding was the exact opposite. Me and my wife, Bethany here, we moved from Utah to Arizona. And in Arizona, I got that first paycheck. Now, I'm going to date myself a little bit. It came in an envelope. It had a little window on the envelope, and it had my name in it. I had to open up the envelope and actually pull out a check. I don't know if any of you have ever held a check before, but I had to pull out a check. And I looked at that check, and dude, my heart sank. Because after moving, after a college degree, after taking a professional job, I was making less money after 2 weeks than I did in a day as an entrepreneur side hustler. Like I was looking at that, and I thought in the back of my mind, I had a voice saying, you should just quit now. But now I had a son on the way. And this little man right here added more weight and responsibility to my shoulders. And so rather than walking away and being what I thought would be a crazy entrepreneur, I decided to play the game harder. Okay. And so over the next 4 years, I doubled down. I worked so hard. I went from making $32,000 a year, I'm sad to say it, as an early college graduate, to well over 6 figures over the next 4 years. And I thought I was climbing the corporate ladder. And here's the reality. I was so committed to making more money so I could save more money so that I could walk away from the corporate environment and live my dreams, that I thought if I worked hard enough, went fast enough, it would all work. And my vision back in the day was I'm going to retire in my 50s. That's what I thought I could do. Right. And then something happened. And whether or not you were part of that or not, here's the reality that 2008 was for me. My 401k, what I thought investing was, it crested $100,000. I thought, man, I'm rich. I had no idea what that meant, but I had $100,000 in a 401k. And in 2008, I watched my 401k go from over $100,000 down to $28,000. And at first, Spencer, I thought I did something wrong. I'm like, man, I must have picked the wrong stock or whatever, right? But as I talked to everyone else, I realized everyone else was in the same boat as me. And here's the crazy part. I realized if I'm doing the same thing everyone else is doing and I'm expecting a different outcome, I must be crazy. But on the other end of this, Spencer, the sad reality of what actually was happening over those 4 years as I was climbing the corporate ladder, I was getting promotions, I was making more money, but every promotion came with more responsibility, a little trade-off. And I didn't measure the trade-offs in the beginning, but after 4 years, Spencer, I lived in a different state than my family. I traveled so much out of state that I had an apartment up in Indianapolis, and I'd come back home. Now we lived in Texas. I'd come back home to Texas, a tired, broken, overwhelmed, stressed out husband and father. And you can imagine what kind of person I was inside of my family. It was crappy. And I'll never forget, man, 4 years in, I lost a bunch of money, but then one day I got a call, and this call changed everything for me, Spencer. My wife told me that my oldest son, who was now 4, he was born with a heart defect, and I knew about it. We knew about it from birth, and I'm an optimist. I thought he'd grow out of it. But at 4, my wife told me that he's going to need an emergency open heart surgery. And man, that rocked me to my core because I didn't know if I was going to have a second chance to be a good father. I had blown it for those first 4 years. I had blown it, man. And I flew back home. I spent the next couple of weeks with my son and my family in the hospital. And my son, man, he made it out of surgery like a champ. He's now taller, stronger, better than me in every single way. But look, the reality of it is I felt like he'd been given a second chance, but more than anything, I had been given a second chance. And I had to figure out the game of money. I had to figure out how to make money, how to stop gambling it away in the 401k stock market, how to buy my life back. And man, going down that path, it set me on some pretty interesting roads, from trying to buy foreign currency to thinking that, I could time the market. It sent me down some pretty crazy roads. But at the end of the day, what I came back to was the thing that started everything off. I came back to being an entrepreneur. You can imagine, right? Losing money, having my son on the verge of passing away, being a horrible father, having my marriage on the brink. As an entrepreneur, as an individual, as a man, as a husband, I was stressed out. I was overwhelmed. I was tremendously anxious. And I was honestly kind of depressed. And so I documented my journey, helping myself first and foremost work within anxiety, overcome depression, and move back into a position of happiness and healthy living. And I had a whole company called Empowered Life Solutions. This then taught me how to get back into really being the driver of my financial plan. And it forced me to answer a question, because look, at the end of the day, I remember I was making now 6 figures in my corporate job. And I remember after about a year and a half of launching this program and getting it off the ground, I was making more money part-time doing this than I was in a six-figure job. And I remember sitting in my room one day, adding everything up. And I realized, oh my gosh, I could be a full-time entrepreneur and have the same lifestyle that I had right now. But I was still scared. I was still nervous. And what it really opened up for me was, what if I stopped waiting? What if I stopped hoping that the market was going to work out? What if I stopped running away from taxes and from my problems and hoping that I'd get a raise at work and maybe everything would work out for me when I'm 65? What if I just buckled down and said, look, life is happening to me for a reason. And if I allow it to, I can learn the lessons necessary. And what if I became the answer to all of my financial problems? That's a pretty dangerous, but a pretty bold question to ask yourself, Spencer. But I dared to ask that question. And over the years, I'm going to share with you the strategy that I use to go from being stuck to this. Now, look, at the end of the day, we're going to talk about money, but look, no one really wants money. Spencer, if I came to you right now, you and I have a mutual friend who is having brain surgery. He had brain surgery yesterday. And if I asked Dave, our friend, yesterday, what the most important thing in his life is and was, it would have nothing to do with money. But yet we think money is the avenue to everything that we want. And I want to invite you to consider that money is simply a tool. That's really all it is. And as I discovered that and started to use that more effectively in my life, it allowed me to pull the future, the idea, the possibility of retirement into the present and start to live a purpose-driven life today. And these are just some of the pictures of what that means to me. I love being in the mountains. I love being with my family. I love traveling. I love being intentional with my life. That's what I'm going to invite you to consider. Financial freedom isn't about money. It's not about the assets that you have. It's not about your stock portfolio. Those might be bragging rights for you. But at the end of the day, it's about time. It's about the time that you have and how you use that precious resource, that time, to live a life that's fulfilling. So when you look back on your life, whether that comes tomorrow or 100 years down the road, you look back without regrets. So my friends, I want you to ask yourself this question as we go through this. I'm going to talk a lot about tactics. I'm going to talk a lot about what you can do to take control over your money. But I want you to answer this question. And Spencer, I know we're live on Facebook. I would love to see the answers to this. What would you do? Create a reality, create a dream in your mind. Maybe you already have that dream. Maybe you've put that dream up on a shelf because it doesn't seem possible to you right now. But imagine a moment in your life when you could step into that ideal moment, when you woke up in the morning and money wasn't the primary driver of what you did, where you went, who you talked to, where you went out to dinner, what type of food you ate, where you lived, all of the things that we let money control. What if money was not the reason that you do the things you do? What would be different about your life? What would your life look like, feel like, and be like if you were empowered with money to use it as a tool to truly live a life authentic to what you want? I would love, Spencer, to see those comments in the Facebook community. Tell me what that would look like, feel like, and be like for you, because I want you to keep that vision in your mind as we go through this presentation today. Because look, at the end of the day, you have a very powerful, but yet a very dangerous tool at your fingertips. Now, we've all heard the statistics, whether this is the exact number or not. I think we all know that business is risky. Okay, that doesn't mean it's bad, but it is what it is. Business is risky. And if we look at it over a 10-year period of time, 85% of entrepreneurs, those who had a dream at one point in their life to start a business to change their lives and others, 85% of those people fell. And I think most people use this statistic to point fingers. And they point fingers saying, hey, you should follow the rules. Business is too risky. You shouldn't go into business. And they talk about it like it's some platitude or statistic. And for most of the world, it is a statistic. But for us, this is a reality. When a business fails, there are people behind that, namely you and me, right? When a business fails, we fail. When we fail, our family feels the effect of that. When our family feels the effect of that, it causes a ripple effect through our lives. When our businesses grow and scale, our employees, our team members, they feel the impact of our ineptitude as a business owner, right? And so when a business fails, it causes a ripple effect across the world. And here's the other thing it does, right? I started off this webinar saying there's a lot of problems out there. Think about a business as a solution to a problem. When a business fails, the problem that only you and your business can solve, my friends, that problem goes unsolved. And so on the other end of this, I want you to look at this and say, yeah, it's risky, but what about the 15%? Consider this for a moment. What if you were part of the 15% of business owners that didn't fail in the first 10 years? What do you think the business landscape would look like? Spencer, you've been in the game now for a long time. I bet you're getting ready to crest that 10-year mark. In the beginning, man, it's crazy, right? Everyone's starting businesses, especially the last decade. It's been so easy. The internet has made it easier than ever to start a business. And the reality of it is it's super competitive when you start. Everyone around you is in the same business. They've been doing it for 6 months, for 12 months, for 18 months, for 24 months. But what if you could build a system that outlasted, outscaled, and outfortified everyone else? So at the end of 10 years, here's what happens. A new window and a new doorway opens up. The competitive landscape actually gets easier. Because if everyone's failing and you're the one succeeding, you get the opportunity to leverage the system that you created that allowed you, empowered you to be successful. And so the question I really want you to ask yourself is this. What are the 15% of the business owners who are thriving? What are they doing? What are they doing differently than the 85% that are failing? Because that is what I'm going to share with you today. And we call this, inside of Altitude, becoming a sovereign entrepreneur. Becoming a sovereign entrepreneur. And what this is, it's using your business as a machine to get rich once and then stay wealthy forever. Too many business owners make some money this quarter. They have a big year this year. If you follow Russell Brunson, maybe they get their 2 Comma Club plaque. And then next year, you don't hear from them ever again because they're out of business. And so my friends, if you want to become a sovereign entrepreneur, if you are with me on this crusade, which is exactly what it is, type in the comments, #NeverGoBack. My friends, this is what this is all about. And the reality of it is, I want to show you how to get rich once and stay wealthy forever. This is going to be the invitation of the webinar today. Spencer, we good with that?
Oh, man, you're speaking my language. I said it in my email, but I just wish 5 years ago I had sat down and met Ryan.
Man, I think that's the number one thing I hear, not from my kids, but from the people I work with. I hear that as like, man, where were you 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I wish I would have. So my friends, that is a very powerful question, but there is no time like the present moment. That's what we're going to do today, is what Spencer should have done, what all of us should have done 5 to 10 years ago. We're going to do it today.
Let's do it.
Now, I get pretty excited and animated, so I'm going to stop and take a drink every now and again. But here we go. Strategy number 1, my friends. I'm going to show you the single best investment that is likely sitting right in front of your face, but you failed to look at. Now, I see this all the time with entrepreneurs. I'm going to show you how to use this as the fuel to you becoming financially free forever without having to time the markets or give up control of your money or anything like that. That's what we're going to do in strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, I'm going to show you a very simple step to go from chaos to clarity. When you go from chaos to clarity, your life and your business will change. But you're also going to learn why most entrepreneurs fail with their personal finances, and they neglect to ask the most important question, which is the who, not how solution. Strategy number 3, I'm going to show you how to truly put everything together and become a sovereign entrepreneur, and why most choose, despite having the opportunity to choose why most choose to stay stuck until they get knocked out of the game and become part of the 85%. So I'm going to go through each one of those strategies. But the first thing I have to invite you to consider is this. Like I said earlier, put your beliefs up on a shelf. Because look, our beliefs determine what we see. You know, it's really interesting, Spencer. You and I could have a completely different belief system and look at the exact same thing. And we could both see the exact same thing, but because of our belief system, interpret it radically different. And the world that we experience is different simply because of the way we believe. So I'm going to invite you to put your beliefs up on a shelf for a moment and consider the possibility if you feel stuck or disempowered in any way with money, it's because everything, or likely pretty close to it, that you have been taught about money is actually wrong, especially when it comes from an entrepreneur. And here's why. Think about this. This is the system that I plugged into when I decided to go to college, get a job, and put my money in a 401k. The entire financial system, who is it built for? It's not built for you. It's built for an employee. It's built for someone who thinks differently, operates differently, and acts differently with their money. And they plug into a system where they're willing to ride the ups and downs. They're willing to take the risk that the market offers. They're willing to wait it out until they're 65 with their fingers crossed, being told what to do. That is who this system was created for. It was never created for you, because inside of your life and your business, you defy the odds. You don't wait to be told what to do. You're proactive and you do it. You find solutions to problems that exist in front of you. But yet, what we're told to do with our money is to plug right back into the same system that was never created for us in the beginning. And as an entrepreneur, this feels threatening. We don't like to be controlled. We don't like to be told what to do. We don't like to not have a clear path that we get to have some say over the outcome in. This is why it is critically important to understand, for many different reasons, but primarily that this system was never created for you. And so therefore, not by any inherent flaw in the system, There are a lot of flaws in the system, but not by that. It's wrong because it's not for you. Okay. If you can consider that with me, then here's that system, right? You're going to go to school, get a job, save diligently in some market-based system, and hope for one day. My friends, that is not what we are here to do. Traditional finance was never intended for you. In fact, I follow this guy named Sharf, and I love Sharf. And for those of you that haven't followed him, he helped us kind of build some infrastructure into our business early on. And he has this podcast, man, and my voice is kind of raspy and deep, but man, Sharfen's dude, that guy's on a different level, man. But inside of his podcast, he talks all about this concept of momentum. As entrepreneurs, we thrive when we are in momentum. We're the ones that challenge complacency. We're the ones that destroy apathy. And we're the ones that don't accept destiny. We define it. That's what he talks about. My friends, I'm going to invite you to take that same mentality that you have as an entrepreneur and apply it to your finances. Rather than taking your money and parking it in some account with your fingers crossed, why not build something that puts you in the driver's seat? And momentum is the metric for success. In fact, you are here inside of this community with my man Spencer. And look, you are here to create a passive income stream. A passive income stream, and I want you to consider that. Income stream is something that is active. It's based on momentum. And you're doing that through affiliate marketing. And inside of this investment, you have an opportunity. In fact, every business owner out there has an opportunity, but especially in this game that you're working with in Spencer, as an affiliate marketing business, your business can be kind of like a printing press. Now, Spencer, I know your story, and I bet sometimes you've had to just kind of slap yourself in the face and say, is this real? Can this actually be possible? Do I have the ability to build a machine here that pays me over and over and over again? And Spencer, you're living proof that that is absolutely possible. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's crazy.
And it's crazy, man. But guys, consider this. Like, if you had a money printing machine, what would you do? Well, I hope you would double down on that money printing machine. You are different. And the reality of it is you need a financial strategy that is different, that models what you need to do as an entrepreneur. And we call this inside of our world an entrepreneur playbook. And an entrepreneur playbook is about taking money, your financial IQ and how you interact with money, and dividing it into three main categories, okay? Three main categories. Category number one is this. Your best investment is actually your ability to make money. This is what we call the entrepreneurial superpower. And think about it this way. When you see problems, you actually see solutions to those problems. But when the rest of the world sees a problem, what do? They fold their arms and they wait for the next person to be elected to make a law to solve the problem. And then when the problem doesn't get solved, what do? They stomp their feet and they say it's not fair, right? But you don't look at the world that way. You look at that problem and say, oh my gosh, if they did it this way, I bet we could solve that problem. Or maybe if I brought this person to the table and this system to the table, I bet we could solve that problem. This is an entrepreneurial superpower. And for you, as it relates to money, here's a big truth. Rate of return is actually pointless. In fact, I'm the very worst. Don't ever invite me to a dinner party. I had a dinner party early last week because we just moved into a new house, and everyone is asking me what I do. And they know I do stuff with money, and they're asking me, well, what do you think I should do with my money? Should I invest in Bitcoin? What about real estate? What about, cryptocurrency? Should I time the market? Should I wait for the dip? And I'm like, dude, that is the dumbest question, all of it ever. For an entrepreneur, here's the reality. Rate of return is pointless. And I want to prove it to you, okay? Because most people are like, Ryan, stop being, excessive. Stop trying to, get all loud on me. But let me prove it to you, okay? What if, because I see the world in opportunities, what if my opportunity was I built a time machine? Okay, Spencer, you and me, let's go on a little journey here, okay? I have a time machine, and you and I, we want to get rich, okay? So what if I said, look, where's my phone? I've got an Apple device right here. I bet every single person, hold up your Apple device. We all have an Apple device. What if I gave you an opportunity to travel back in time with me and go invest in Apple when it very first launched back in mid-1980s? Spencer, would you want to do that?
I wouldn't mind that.
That doesn't sound too bad, right? So let's say we're going to go back and we're going to buy 100 shares, okay? So when it first IPO'd in 1980, we could buy 100 shares, right? $22 a share. So 100 shares, you give me $2,200, I go back on my time machine and we're going to play this game and we're going to be rich, okay? So here's the thing. Now I need to update the numbers, but this closed, when I put this presentation together, this was as of about a year and a half ago. It closed at $200 a share. So you invested $2,200 with me. It closed at $200 a share. Our end value was $1.1 million. Spencer, man, we did it. Congratulations. High five me. But there's a little bit of a problem. That took us 38 years. Crap. Yeah, we're a millionaire, but now we're like old. And man, I don't want to be old and be a millionaire. So let's see if we can use our time machine better. Okay. There's another company called Amazon. I bet, look around, there's an Amazon box somewhere right in your living room right now. So let's say we go and we're going to invest in Amazon. We're going to do the same thing. So it IPO'd in 1997. You're going to give me enough money to buy 100 shares. So you give me $1,800. I go buy 100 shares. And when that closed, it closed at $2,000. Man, that's a pretty big difference from 200 to 2,000. We are now freaking rich. We were rich before. Now we're freaking rich, right? $2.4 million. Spencer, you kind of know where I'm going with this. Oh, crap. I mean, that's a 40% return. And by all measurement standpoint, everyone would be like, yeah, that's a good return. It still took us 21 years to do it. Guys, let me give you a different perspective to look through, okay? I run a company called Cashflow Tactics, and every single week, this week right now, I bought shares. I bought advertisement space on Facebook and on Google and on YouTube. Every single week, I've been doing this now for the last 5 years. Every week buying ad space. Well, except the year that my ad account was shut down. But every year, I've been buying ad space. Now, every week I run a webinar. That webinar is now on autopilot. It runs every week without me, showing up live. And the last ad we spent on a week when I put this together was $1,300. Okay, $1,300. We did 1,900 in sales. That looks pretty darn boring. But guess what? We had a 42% return on our ad spend. All right, give or take, that's cool. We did that in 1 week. What does that actually mean? Well, that means in 19 weeks, I did what took me 21 years or 38 years above. I'm able to generate $1 million in 19 weeks. What is my return on that? Who freaking cares? My friends, this is the driver. Your business has the ability to create money faster than anything else. In fact, most employees talk about earning money. And what is earning money based on? It's based on how much money you can trade. It's how much time, not money, how much time you can trade. You trade 40 hours, you earn money. Business owners, you guys play a different game. Your game is not earning money. Your game is making money. And guess what happens? Time becomes irrelevant. You can make money independent of time. This opens up a whole new avenue. And this is how it plays out inside of our business. This is Altitude, right? Not Cashflow Tactics. So Altitude, we've invested $1,200. Or not 1,200, 1.2 million. That's a different number. $1.2 million with this dude right here over the years. But we just got an award last year. I mean, we'll double that this year, but we got an award last year of having made $10 million in this company. We've impacted 6,000 lives in this company. What's our return on investment? My friends, if we really want to break that down, that's an 800% annual return on investment. Do you see what I'm talking about here? And ask yourself this one last question, then I'm going to stop beating the dead horse. When you invest in the stock market, what are you actually investing in? Like, have you ever asked yourself that question? I mean, type that in. What are you actually investing in when you invest in the stock market? Well, if I'm investing in the stock market, if we go back up here, I'm investing in Apple. And by default, consciously and subconsciously, what I'm saying is Apple's a better company than I am. I'm going to put my money in with Apple because they're better than I am. They have a better system than I do. And so therefore, my money is going to be safer and more protected and grow better there than it would with me. My friends, do you see how crazy that is? Do you ever expect to grow a money-making machine if you believe in someone else's business more than you believe in yours? Okay, I know I'm beating a dead horse there, but I hope to drive that point home close for you so you understand there is no investment that will ever beat you. You are the solution. So stop spending so much time analyzing other people's businesses and start focus on your own instead. What we call this inside of our group is I don't care what your return on investment is. What I care about is your return on attention. Focus your attention on the things that matter. Inside of a business, it's this. Invest in your mindset, your skill set, your network. You are only one of these things away from a radically different life, from maximum profitability. In the beginning, I needed a different mindset to learn how to take my financial practice, which used to be over the kitchen table, online. I needed a different mindset, a different skill set, and a different network to be able to do that. As I did that, I went from working with people over the kitchen table to now talking to you guys all over the world. Do you see how powerful this is? And then as you start to scale a business, you need to invest in marketing and sales, processes and systems, and ultimately people. These are the very best investments that you can make. And that is why you are in this community. That is why you are following Spencer. And I want to give you more than anything permission to consider your business an investment. Too oftentimes I talk to entrepreneurs and they're like, that's an expense. And I tell them, no, that's not an expense. What if you treated it like an investment? How would it pay off for you if you thought about it differently? Okay, so my friends, wherever you're at in your business, many people, they just need that permission to double down on their business. Some people come back to me like, okay, cool. I get all of that. That makes sense. But I'm still broke. I mean, I still got a problem. I'm still broke. So let's do a quick exercise. I'm not going to spend too much time on this just for the sake of time and where we're at, but I would love for you to participate in this. And ultimately, I want you to give it some credence. When I first did this in my own life, it rocked the way I truly felt about money. So what I want you to do, I want you to get a clean piece of paper out, and I want you to divide it into 3 parts, okay? Clean piece of paper out. Now, we're not going to be able to do this all the way, but if you take some time and really sit with this and do this real, it's going to open up what your financial IQ actually is. Your financial IQ is how we use our mental intelligence to solve money problems. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to say, try to add up the best you can how much money you have made. Like, that's crazy, right? Go back to the beginning. My very first money that I made, I was a paper boy. I tell my kids I rode around with a Walkman and I threw papers, and they don't even understand what I'm talking about. But look, that was the first way I made money. I threw papers. All the way from making money that way to making money this way, selling educational products online and helping people implement a system. Like, how much money have you made? When I very first did this exercise, this is when I, had just lost all that money in my 401k and in the stock market, but I had made over $1 million. 5 years out of college, I had made over $1 million. And at first I told myself, I can't make money, right? I thought, man, I can't do it, right? But once I put that down and I truly understood, holy crap, I can make money. Okay, that's exciting. I hope this number is validating to a certain extent for you as well. I realized I was the driver. Now, the next thing here is once you've added up all the money that you've made, I want you to now open up your bank account. And I want you to look in your bank accounts, your investments, your portfolio, wherever you keep the money. And I want you to ask yourself, how much money have you actually kept? Now, this doesn't mean you need to make money and keep every dollar that you make. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to point out the divide that happens so often, especially for entrepreneurs. For me, when I first did this, I had $28,000 to show for it. I'd made over $1 million, but as I looked at what I had, I only had $28,000 to show for it. And I'll tell you what this opened up for me is I was so pissed off. And I think sometimes we have to get a little bit frustrated with our circumstances to do something about it. This pissed me off. I was so mad that a competent individual like myself could not for the life of me figure out how to take this $1 million that I'd made and have more to show for it in my life. So my friends, do this exercise. I'm going to open up this third part here in just a minute for you. But this is when I met Russell shortly after this. And I remember when I met Russell, many of you know Russell Brunson. He's now, he's a co-founder of a $1 billion company. But when I met Russell, he was just coming out of yet another entrepreneurial failure. Okay. And I think many of us have been there. We know what that feels like to build something, to have a dream, and to have it all crumble down before us. And Russell's pretty open about this. He's told this story at Funnel Hacking Live and places like that. But what Russell doesn't tell too many people until you get to know him is how this impacted his personal mental confidence, and how this impacted his relationship with his wife, Colette, and how this impacted his family. Like, at the height of what he had built before ClickFunnels, he had over 300 people. He had made millions of dollars, just like so many of us. But over the Christmas holiday, as everything was, imploding around him, he had to let 300 people go, including his closest friends and family. And he had to go home and tell Colette about it. And what he told us, he was about 1.5 years into having started ClickFunnels. And he said, I am afraid I'm going to lose it all again. And I don't want to ever go back to that position. I don't ever want to put my family and myself in that position again. And he said, Ryan, what can I do to not lose my money and to never go back? My friends, for us business owners, I think this is the way I like to describe it. I feel like our business is kind of behind the scenes. And we feel like we're the hunters out there. We're the ones finding opportunities. We're the ones driving. We're the ones creating. But behind it all, any business owner will tell you they're being hunted. And what is hunting them is actually their business. It's payroll that's due next week. It's the overhead. It's the expenses that you have to cover projects, infrastructure, growth. COVID has proven it to so many business owners that times can and will get rough for a business owner. And so behind it all, our business is what is hunting us like a wolf. And so my friends, never going back is how we build a business one time. We get rich one time, but we stay wealthy forever. Too oftentimes business owners, they build something amazing, and then something changes in the marketplace. COVID happens and everything comes crashing down. They take the lessons that they learn and they go back out and build again, but they haven't learned the fundamental lesson of how to keep their money. And so they lose it all. And they go on this build and burn cycle of making money and losing money. And we've all seen people like that. As I got into the internet marketing space, I can't tell you how oftentimes I would see people making money in one area, and then next year they were nowhere to be seen. And then they pop back up doing something completely different, making money in that area, and then they disappear. Like, how oftentimes do we see business owners cycle in and out of the game? So my friends, step number 2 of all of this, it's not what you make, It's what you keep that's really going to make the difference. This is the antidote to chaos. And here is how this works. I'm going to talk real with you. And I think we can all resonate on this because we all run businesses. But look, being an entrepreneur, it's sexy. It's fun. I just told you how amazing your business is. But the reality of it is, when we step away from beating our chest a little bit, even in my own business, my business feels like this. Like there are constantly problems. Every single day, it's a new problem, new opportunity, but still a new problem, right? And behind the scenes, it feels like my business is constantly trying to tear me down. And when I look at my business bank accounts, if I'm not highly vigilant at the end of the quarter, at the end of the month, at the end of the payroll period, I realize I had money, but where the heck did it all go? Well, a little bit went here. You had an event, you had an invoice that was due that no one accounted for. Like this is how your business feels. It's constantly throwing problems at you, and it's constantly eating the money that you make. So it's one thing to make it. It's a whole nother thing to actually keep the money. And so many entrepreneurs end up feeling like this. They feel, despite their best efforts, that they are poor. Okay. And the reality of it is, to make money, it requires a certain skill set. You have to be fast. You have to be decisive. You have to go all in. You have to be confident. You have to think oftentimes short term to make short term pivots as the market changes and adjusts. But to keep the money that you're making, you have to have a completely different mentality. You have to think long term. You have to think generational. You have to think multi-years down the road. And so oftentimes the mindsets, the personalities, what is required to make and keep money are at odds with each other. And so the reality of it is, it's hard to make and keep money. In fact, some of the people that we look up to, I just went through Jeff Bezos's Amazon numbers. But Jeff Bezos, even he understands this. He said one day Amazon will fail. But our job is to delay that as long as possible. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most successful female entrepreneurs ever, she said, I knew it couldn't last forever. So I planned for the end from the beginning. So my friends, at the end of the day, here's the truth. Your business at some point is and will be worthless. Like that's really the truth. No business is going to go to the moon. No business will last forever. Businesses are going to be created and the markets are going to force them out. Entrepreneurs are going to burn out for various different reasons. Your business at some point will become worthless. And everyone who has eyes to see understands this, but your business, if your business is not the thing that is going to make you financially free, here's the truth. It is the one thing that will fuel your path to becoming financially free faster than anything else. If this is true, what is it that you should do? Here's the truth. It's not what you make, it's what you keep that is ultimately going to make you financially free. When you put those two together, you put a world of creation and a world of protection together. A world of production and a world of protection coming together allows you, the entrepreneur, to become a sovereign entrepreneur. So let me ask you a question to keeping your money. What is the greatest threat to your wealth? Okay. And I'm going to invite you to give me this in a 4-letter word. Now, be very careful. We're on Facebook. We're live here, Spencer. We got to moderate the comments here. But I want you to tell me what is the greatest threat that is taking all of your money. And it's a 4-letter word. What might this be? Now, Spencer, I don't know if you have anything. Sometimes I talk to people and they're like, hey, my kids, they're so expensive. They take all my money. I'm like, yeah, I get that. Especially as they grow up, they get more and more expensive. Maybe it's cost, right? We have an entrepreneur that we work with a lot, and his business shifted radically during COVID. His cost of production went through the roof, which forced him to make some very interesting decisions. So maybe it's cost. Maybe it's, hey, I'm investing in things and I got too many fees, right? It's eating up my account and all my investments. But I'd love to hear food. I got food in there. Someone's telling me food is what's costing him. What if I told you the thing that's taking all of your money is actually the thing that very few of us are willing to deal with? It's math. Okay. Now, I told you I'm a high school dropout, right? I also told you that my business partner is a math genius. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit here. I get to hang out with someone who loves math. He eats math for breakfast. For me, I like math when it gives me a very definitive, clearly defined result. So let me give you the very clearly defined result. If you're unwilling to deal with math, your greatest destroyer of wealth is actually tax. And the reason I say it's a math problem, if you look at how tax works, you are taxed on top of tax, on top of tax, on top of tax, right? When you make money, what is it called? Income tax. Every quarter, every year, we feel the pain of sending money off to the government, right? Whether you want to pay taxes or not, it is a painful situation. Then once we pay taxes, when we get ready to take whatever we have left over out to the store and go buy some food, well, what do we got to do? Well, we got to pay sales tax on the money that we have. If we then go out and invest our money because we're trying to get ahead and we make a little bit of money in our investments, what happens? Well, we're taxed again. It's called a capital gains tax, right? And then after all of the tax that you've paid, Once you die, what happens? Well, you're going to give half your money to the government. So if we really add this up, you pay, if you don't do anything about it, you're going to pay over 50% of your money in taxes. And for a lot of us, this makes us feel poor. Now, remember, I told you I started a company to get myself out of the corporate rat race called Empowered Life Solutions. And I made almost $500,000 in that company. Over 3 years, as I started that company and transitioned out of the corporate space, I made over 500,000. And for about 18 months, I did not pay my taxes because I was scared to death. With every dollar that I made, I was so scared to even look at the money because I knew it wasn't all mine. I didn't know how much of it was mine, but I knew it wasn't all mine. And I remember I kept going to CPA after CPA after CPA saying, how do I keep more of my money? What do I need to put in place? How do I do this thing called the tax game? Because I heard that I might not have to pay as much money in taxes as a business owner. And every single person, guess what they told me? Son, you made a lot of money. You've got a lot of taxes to pay. You better pay the piper. They're going to come get you, right? And at the end of the day, I paid the taxes. I paid over 6 figures in taxes. And I tell you what, man, I was so pissed off. And again, that fury, that anger, that led me to look for different solutions. And this is when I actually met this guy, Brad Gibb. And when I met Brad Gibb, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted to punch Brad in the face because I just paid 6 figures in taxes. And the very first thing he told me when I told him this, he said, Ryan, that's stupid. Taxes are optional. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Brad? I talked to all these CPAs and no one said it was optional. They said, you got to pay your taxes. Remember, the system wasn't created for me. The system was created to tell employees how the tax code works. But he said taxes are optional. And you can see this look that he has on his face. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, that's how Brad looks at the world. It's black or white. Taxes are optional. And so look, here's how Brad works. Brad's kind of like the mad scientist. In fact, if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, Neo has this power to look into the world of numbers and to translate those numbers into a reality that the rest of the world can see. So here's how Brad helped me see this, because I didn't believe taxes were optional. That big hole in my bank account after I cut a 6-figure check to the government told me that taxes were not optional. But here's what Brad showed me. Okay, now Obama, Brad loves election season because these politicians open up their tax accounts. Obama, when he ran for office, and now ever since, he made over 6 figures. I think Brad said it was like $500,000 when he looked at Obama's tax records. Obama had made over $500,000, which was about what I made, right? But guess what? He paid only 19% in taxes the year he was elected. Mitt Romney, the year he ran for office, made $14 million that year. $14 million. So you would think he's going to have a high tax rate. Well, Mitt Romney only paid 14% of his income in taxes. 14%. Warren Buffett is on record. You can go look it up, saying his secretary paid a 32% tax rate, but Warren Buffett only pays 17.4. So he showed me example after example after example. For those of you that are Trump fans or haters, we still don't know how much money Trump, paid in taxes. Like he would never disclose that. In fact, he bragged about the fact that he didn't pay any taxes. But look, here's the reality. Taxes might be optional. I don't know. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Could this be? When Brad shared this with me, again, I wanted to punch him in the face. I was pretty mad. And then I got kind of sad. I had to go through like all the stages of frustration and get to grief. But again, I allowed myself to ask the question. I said, okay, Brad, prove it to me, you genius. Like how are taxes optional? So guys, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a pen and a paper out. I'm going to give you the exact playbook. Okay, this is where you're going to take some notes. Now, maybe you have heard this. Spencer just got back from vacation in Washington. Maybe you should have went here instead. But there are these little islands right out here, right off of the coast of Australia. They're called the Cook Islands, okay? We go to the Cook Islands, and all we have to do is set up this really simple little structure right here, okay? We're going to set all this up for you. I mean, it's so simple and easy. Now, my friends, that's not how it is, okay? This is what we call loopholes. So many people, and I was doing the same thing. As an early entrepreneur, I wanted to know the thing that I could do that year to not pay any taxes. But what I avoided was the structural work that needed to be in place to allow me to start to become like these guys up here and pay less money in taxes. So my friends, I want you to consider this for just a moment, okay? The IRS, the tax code, is actually like a treasure map. I mean, think about this for just a minute. This is like the one thing that helped push me over the edge to understand this. But look, the tax code has thousands and thousands of pages in it. Have you ever asked yourself why? Like, who actually puts all those pages in there? What do they say? And what is it all for? Like, the reality of it is the very first thing in the tax code, it says, guess what? Everything you make is taxable. Then the next 8 pages in thousands are written for employees. And it tells you the 4 ways you can take deductions. You can put money in a 401k. You can have some kids. You can buy a house, or you can give money to charity. Those are the 4 ways, if you're an employee, that you get deductions. But the rest of the tax code, the thousands of pages, it is literally written for you. It is written as a business owner. The IRS is using the tax code as a way for you to go out and create jobs, solve problems, do things in the economy, and drive the economy forward. And if you're willing to set up the right structure, everything you make, taxes are optional on that, but it has to come down to the structure. In fact, I read this book later on after I met Brad. Oh man, why am I forgetting the name of the book? It's Cashflow Quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki. And he says, if you're an employee,
I just finished that book. I read it all the way home from Washington. I was listening to it. So
it pisses you off, but it's so dang good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what he says is like this side of the game over here, he breaks down, it's how you tell the IRS you're making money. If you tell the IRS I'm W-2 and I make money that way, most of what you pay, you're going to pay in taxes, right? For up to 40% of what you make, you're going to pay in taxes. If you go from, hey, I'm really good at doing something, I'm going to now go out and do it on my own, and you're self-employed, and structurally you tell the IRS I'm self-employed, then guess what? Some of the taxes that your employer has to pay on your behalf, you now get to pay. And you'll pay over more than 60% of what you make can go to taxes. And this is how most entrepreneurs play the game. And is it any wonder why most entrepreneurs can never turn a profit consistently? Every time it comes to make a quarterly payment or annual tax payments, they are years behind. In fact, we just met with an entrepreneur about 6 weeks ago that we're working with. He's 6 years behind on filing his tax returns. 6 years, because he can never figure this game out. But what Robert Kiyosaki says, if you structurally put yourself together as a business owner, you get the opportunity to pay 20% in taxes. I don't know about you, but that looks a lot like Mitt Romney. $14 million in money made, 14% tax rate. Okay, so it comes down to having the right structure in place. And here's the crazy part. When I went and met with most CPAs would tell me, hey, there is no structure. I don't know what you're talking about. They weren't speaking this language. They were speaking, here's the ways you get loopholes or deductions in this year. Have kids, buy a bigger home, give to charity, or put money in a 401k. That's all they could tell me. They were talking about this, not this. My friends, you see how the game is not set up for you. Josh Forty came to the table. Many of you know Josh Forty. He's a prolific entrepreneur. And Josh Forty came to the table having already paid his taxes, but he came to the table. We helped him set up the right structure. And here's the crazy part. With the right structure in place, he was able to go back to the government from years prior and get $12,000 back from taxes he had already paid. And now that structure is in place to allow him to pay 20% in taxes as his business scales and grows. As he goes from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8, Josh Forty's dreams are big. I don't know how big he's going to go, but he has the structure in place that will scale with him. Do you guys see how powerful that is? So as a sovereign entrepreneur, you're going to pay taxes once, but then I want you to consider the possibility, what if you never paid them again? Like I told you all the different ways that you're taxed. Most people, they say, hey, I'll pay them now, but then I'll keep paying them as I go. I'll pay them when I buy stuff. I'll pay them when I invest. I mean, think about how you're investing. If you're putting money into an IRA, what are you doing with your taxes? Well, you're shifting them to the future. Like everything you're saving for, you're now putting a ticking time bomb in the very thing you're saving for. So my friends, I just told you how to go from 20%. But the other thing that Robert Kiyosaki says in his book is there's this other quadrant over here. No matter where you're making your money, if you can step into the investor quadrant, this is on your active income. But if you can step into the investor quadrant on your passive income, you have the opportunity to never pay taxes again. So my friends, how do we do that? Well, there are actually, so this is, you've got $1 worth of profit. You're going to take that profit and you're going to invest it. The question is, where do you invest it? Okay. So when you invest it, there are multiple ways, multiple things that can destroy your money. Okay. Number one is taxes. But what if you invested in markets, right? Well, markets, I don't know if anyone's playing in the game right now, it kind of sucks, right? Inflation, if anyone's looked at the money today, it kind of sucks, right? Predators and creditors, has anyone ever felt a little bit subconscious that they have a target on their back? The more money they make, the more they promote themselves, the more they think people are going to come after them. Like these are the things in addition to taxes that will take your passive income, your profits from your business. So we have to protect against all of these. Now, the way we do this is something that when I first learned about it, again, I had to go through the stages because like I didn't get it, but it's called a maximum funded investment grade whole life insurance policy. It's a mouthful, but at the end of the day, wait, hold up. You're probably saying to yourself, did you just say, did Ryan just say whole life insurance? Spencer, did I just say that out loud on a live call in front of thousands of people?
Life insurance?
What the life insurance? Did Ryan just say life? I did. I said life insurance, my friends. Look, here's how this works. If you can build a life insurance investment grade policy, most people think of life insurance, if I die, my family's taken care of. They think about life insurance like they think about auto insurance. If I get in a car accident, my car's taken care of. but you can actually build policies that function as investments. Now, I know Spencer knows what these are. I know what they are. Our community knows what they are, but here's what it does. You put money into it, not for life insurance, but for investment purposes. Your money is now safe, private, and protected. It's guaranteed growing forever for your entire life. It's a 200-year track record. The companies that stand behind these contracts have done it for 200 years. It's actually IRS sanctioned. So it's tax-free, all of the growth that you're getting. Your cash is liquid and it can be leveraged. I want you to think about it like a line of credit. If I have $1 million line of credit, guess what? I can access that line of credit. There's no red tape. I control it 100%. Whenever I want, I can take tax-free income out of it. And because at its core, it's life insurance, it protects you, the asset. This is how these policies work. Now, again, if you're anything like me, I'm a little bit skeptical in the beginning. When I first learned about this, I'm like, I don't believe it. Prove it. Okay. Well, let me tell you, banks right now, where the heck do banks keep their money? Today, banks have 184 billion. That's right, billion dollars in these type of accounts. Banks don't even keep bank money in banks. They put it in these type of policies. They have a standing order to buy as much of these type of policies as they're legally authorized to buy. The wealthy, here's Buffett, Gates, Buffett, Gates, and Oprah. Man, I'm losing track of names here. So many cool people. So Gates, Buffett, and Oprah Winfrey. Gosh dang it. Thank you. They have $1.5 billion in these accounts. Like, what do they know? The $1.5 billion of what they've made have gone to these accounts. In fact, man, look this up. There's actually an article on this. Jim Harbaugh, when he went to coach the University of Michigan, he had the University of Michigan put 35% of his compensation, totaling $14 million in life insurance. Why? And at the end of the day, I told you my business partner, Brad, loves the tax season, or loves the election season. When our president, when he was running for office, he opened up his financial records. Guess what? He has 8 of these accounts. We call them vaults, but he has 8. Why? Well, he knows something that hardly anyone else knows. Taxes are going to take all of your money. So why should he pay taxes? Well, he should probably protect his money, right? So here's the reality. Sovereign entrepreneurs, they pay taxes once and then they never pay them again. You make money once and then you keep it forever. Stop going backwards. Stop going 1 step forward and 2 steps back. For an entrepreneur, 80% of the game is money comes, or 80% of the game of money simply comes down to your ability to make it and keep it. If you can get those 2 things figured out, the other 20% investing becomes stupid simple. My friends, this is how this works. If you are with me on this, if you want to be a sovereign entrepreneur and finally make and keep your money, then put it in the comments. Tell me about it. I'll be honest with you, I can't spell sovereign or entrepreneur. So if we mash it up, it's even harder. But just put sovereign entrepreneur. Bonus points if you can actually spell it right. Sovereign entrepreneur. Okay. Now, Tony Robbins, he has an interesting comment, and I love this comment. He says, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with. Those 2 words seem like completely different things, right? Uncertainty and certainty. How do we combine those 2 to have quality of life? Well, if your entire life is uncertainty, if there's risk and chaos everywhere, then your life feels like it's falling apart. But that's how most business owners operate. Their business is uncertain. The economic circumstances that they operate in are uncertain. Their finances are uncertain. It feels like chaos. But if you can balance out uncertainty, which is the business world, with certainty in personal finance, you actually have the ability to not only comfortably live, but to actually thrive. In fact, when we met Russell and put this plan in place for him, he developed entrepreneurial certainty. He is now 5 years in since we met him. He's been making money and keeping money every single year. And when we first sat down with him, we built an exit strategy for him. And he said, hey, here's how much income I want. And he told us how much income he wanted. And we said, okay, cool. If you want that much money coming in tax-free forever for the rest of your life, here's how much money you have to make. We gave him a target to go back to his business, to make money, to profitably pull it from his business and to store it in a vault. And he is now set for life. My friends, do you see how powerful this can be? That is the game of making and keeping money. But I know a lot of you still have questions about investing. So I'm going to go into this very, very quickly. And I'm going to give you the radically simpler approach to financial freedom for an entrepreneur. Okay. The reality of it is entrepreneurs don't have a plan. Like, consider this for just a moment. If you've invested at all in the past, if you're like most entrepreneurs, when I sit down with them and ask them where their money's at, A, they have no idea. B, if they do know, it's a little bit here, a little bit there. It's spread out all over the place. They have mutual funds, they have stocks, they have Bitcoin, they have cryptocurrency, they have a startup fund, whatever. It's everywhere. They don't have a plan. They have no idea what success looks like. And so thus their money is spread all over the place. And as I follow them around in their financial lives, they look like this. I made some money. I lost it over here. I can't get my money back over there. I don't know what's going on. And the only place they have any certainty is in their business. And if they ever keep any of their money or profitably successfully invested, they have no idea how to replicate that success. And at the end of the day, when they start picking investments, it's whatever's hot for this year. Bitcoin was up a couple years ago. Everyone buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down right now. Everyone sell, right? And so look, at the end of the day, this is not a financial plan. It's like going to a grocery store without a grocery list. You end up with all the crap in your shopping cart. So at the end of the day, ask yourself this question. Why? Why not just spend all of your money today? Why do we actually invest? What do we actually want to have happen when we invest? What is the definition of success? Well, here's the reality. If your business won't last forever, that means your business cash flow won't last forever. But that doesn't mean your personal cash flow can't. And I don't care if you're an employee or you're an entrepreneur. If we really get honest with ourselves, we're all investing for the same thing. We want a stream of income that will buy our time back. That's really the definition of success. But very few people actually think about it that way. So if you want cash flow for life, give me the hashtag cash flow for life. Tell me about it. Let me give you a little bit of an example. If we say, who is the GOAT, right? GOAT, greatest of all time. I've got Marino and I've got Tom Brady. Now on the stat sheet, these guys are like identical, right? Brady's been in the game a little bit longer, so his stats are a little bit higher, but on the stat sheet, they look like the same person. But when we have a GOAT conversation, who is the GOAT? Like we all know, Marino never won a Super Bowl, but Tom Brady, man, he's going to have to start putting rings on his toes here if he keeps playing the game. But look, the reality of it is a Super Bowl is what defines you as the greatest of all time. When we bring that same thought process back to our money, cash flow is your ring. Financial freedom is why we're investing. We want our cash flow to exceed our expenses. And unlike retirement, that becomes a lifestyle. If I want to raise my expenses, I know I have to find a way to produce more cash flow to constantly stay ahead of that game. But cash flow is the entrepreneurial Super Bowl ring. Now, at the end of the day, this is the only reason why we should ever invest outside of our business. If you want more money, go back to your business. If you want financial freedom, start investing for cash flow. Rate of return is fun. Like you can go brag around the water cooler to, your brother-in-law that, hey, you got a 30% return. Yeah, that might be good bragging rights, but it's irrelevant. Cash flow is freedom. Cash flow independent of your business, cash flow independent of your time. That is the definition of success. Now, last part in this exercise, remember, how much money have you made? I had made over $1 million. How much money have you kept? I had kept $28,000 when I did this exercise. The last part is how much income would it generate? Now, all of this money was in a 401k, right? That's where it was. Assuming I could take the money out, which I couldn't, right? Assuming I could take the money out, I was only 4 months financially free. How much time did I actually own? Like if I took the money out of my 401k, at the time when I did this, my monthly expenses were about $7,000 a month, which meant after 5 years of working, of laboring, of trading, of making trade-offs, living away from my family, almost losing my son in surgery. I had made $1 million. I only had $28,000 to show for it. But the sad reality of it for me was I was nowhere near my dream of retiring in my 50s. I was nowhere near becoming financially free because I didn't know in the beginning what success looked like and how to measure it. My friends, this is the path to financial freedom. And I want to invite you to consider, I just gave you a whole new way to think about money, and you will never become financially free and remain financially ignorant. You have to realize and understand money is a tool. So your financial IQ is going to drive or hold you back to achieving the outcome that you want. You, all of you on this participating in this, just raise your financial IQ. You now know making, keeping, and cash flowing. That is the framework for entrepreneurial success. My friends, I'm going to go into these last two strategies very, very quickly to drive this point home. But strategy number 2 is the simple step to go from chaos to clarity, okay? And again, we talked about what it's like to be a business owner. It's this, right? The business is throwing at us, it's constantly giving us problems. Then if we go out and we go to the world of investing, we feel like everything we do is out of our control. And most people find themselves in a position where they ask themselves, what's the point? I mean, I've talked to people, especially the younger generation today. They don't feel like they're ever going to get ahead. They don't feel like they're ever going to be financially free. So what's the point of even trying? But my friends, if we close our eyes and let this pass, saying it's going to be too hard, most people are going to just let their entire life pass, and the winds of circumstance are going to blow them to and fro. But my friends, here's the reality. You might be asking yourself, okay, even though investing is scary, maybe I can do this. In fact, maybe you might think that, or maybe you think it's too much and I can't do this. But here's the truth. You shouldn't do this. If you are a business owner, you should not be actively investing on your behalf. In fact, let me tell you what this looks like. If you're a business owner and you're going to try to build your way to financial freedom, here's you. You've got some business profits. What do you need to do? Well, first thing, you need to get a tax person because you already know you're paying too much in tax. You need to get a tax person who you understand and have a mutual agreement on what a appropriate tax rate should be for you. And I just told you it should be 20%. I dare you to go ask any CPA out there if they can get you a 20% tax rate. But even if you can, then you need to go out and you need to get a bookkeeper, right? Someone who can help put the relevant numbers in front of you. Then you need to go out, and I told you should probably keep your money in life insurance. You need to go out and get a life insurance guy. Then you need to go out and you need to get an investment person. You probably need an attorney on your team, and you probably need something for estate planning, right? As you do this, what do you start to see coming up, right? If you're the one in the middle, right, and you're talking to the tax person, they're telling you, hey, if you want to lower your taxes, put your money in an IRA. But then you talk to your investor person and he says, don't defer your taxes, eliminate them today. Go tell your CPA is stupid, right? Then you have to go back to your CPA and say, hey, that guy said you're stupid. You should get rid of my taxes. And this CPA is going to say, well, that guy's stupid. You should tell him to stop telling me I'm stupid, right? And they start to argue, but you're the one stuck in the middle. This is what it's like for most entrepreneurs when they try to build a team to go financially free. And ultimately what happens is it's kind of like a will. And if everything is not functioning and correlating together, if you sit in the middle of it, you're going to have holes and flat tires somewhere. And most entrepreneurs will either try to fight this or run away from it. And they'll never even start. They'll never even try. If you try to fight it, you're going to be like this. You're going to grit your teeth. You're going to grin and bear it. You're going to try to bring everyone together. Or you're just hoping to find that one home run. Maybe the next maybe Elon Musk is going to come out with a new cryptocurrency, Dogecoin 2.0. And if I just do that in the beginning, everything's going to be awesome, right? You're trying to either fight it or you're trying to, win a bid. But at the end of the day, if you're running away from it, this is what you're telling yourself. I don't have time. I'm not smart enough. Everything's too complicated. It all moves too fast. I'm embarrassed, whatever it might be. But the simple step to go from chaos to clarity is this. Stop trying to do it yourself. Think about scaling a business. Do you try to scale a business yourself? You don't. When you try to scale a business, you say, hey, here's what I'm really good at. I'm kind of crappy at these 5 things. So what if I go out and I get people who are good at the things I'm not good at? And what if I unify them under a common mission and a common definition of success? What if you started asking, not how do I do it, but who do I need on my team to help me do it? This is what we talk about when it comes to wealth strategy. When you have a wealth strategist on your team, you have a tax well, now before I go into that, there's you, the entrepreneur. You know what you want now. You want to have cash flow independent of your expenses. You want to have a 20% tax rate. You now need a person, a wealth strategist who understands your goals. And can you talk to one person? That person and you are completely aligned on what you want, what the definition of success is, and how long you're willing to put into it to make it happen. That wealth strategist then needs to go out and get the tax person, the vault person, the investment, the cash flow person, all of the different seats on your table. And that person needs to bring them together just like a team and coordinate them for a commonly defined definition of success. If there's a tax problem, that tax problem shouldn't come back to the entrepreneur to say, hey, entrepreneur, solve the problem. No. It should be a coordinated, combined effort towards financial freedom. It comes down to being a CEO of your money. CEO of your money, just like a CEO of your business, is simply set the vision, define what success is, know what right looks like with each step. Stay in your zone of genius. Stop trying to be the CPA if you're not a CPA. Be the business owner and get the right CPA working with the right wealth strategist. Own a system, not a job. Now, this might sound like a radical idea for you, but I've got a little secret for you. Millionaires, past about 50 million, but for sure the billionaires, every single billionaire has what is called a family office. You guys have heard this, right? Family offices are literally when someone with a lot of money builds a team in-house, and that family office does all of the critical jobs relevant to secure the money that the entrepreneur has made, to make sure it lasts generationally, and to make sure taxes are lower and cash flow is high. That's the job of a family office. There is one person who runs it that coordinates with the entrepreneur and coordinates the entire team on behalf of the entrepreneur. Does that make sense? My friends, your return on investment is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you make a 10%, 20%, 30% return. Your return on attention is exactly what you need to focus on. Having a family office driven and ran by a wealth strategist who's focused on lowering your attention, or increasing your attention by lowering your time invested, lowering your taxes to a target tax rate, and developing cash flow that you control outside of your business. This is what gives you your attention back. For many entrepreneurs that we work with, this ends up being the missing puzzle piece. This is what allows you to go from I'm stuck to now I can't get out of the way fast enough. Does that make sense? This is strategy number 2. Strategy number 3, it's the simple approach to becoming a sovereign entrepreneur. It's why most people are choosing to stay stuck, and it's inevitable that they're going to get knocked out of the game at some point. Now, how I'm going to wrap this up is most people at this point are like, oh my gosh, Ryan, I can't unsee what you just showed me. I can't not see and understand money the same way again. And it all sounds great, but you still have this idea in your mind of what a rich person is, someone who is financially free. You think that financially free people are like this. They're just hobnobbing. They're at parties. They've got nice cars and nice watches. Look, guys, I'm in a t-shirt. I've got a hat on. I'm wearing my flip-flops right here. I don't know what you think a rich person or a financial free person is, but if you are waiting for when you become rich to develop a financial plan, it's kind of like saying, I'm going to go to the doctor when I feel better. Or maybe I'm going to get in shape. Like I'm going to go to the gym once I'm already in shape. Or maybe this will resonate with you a little bit better. Maybe I'll join Spencer's program after I've already established my 6 to 7 figure affiliate marketing program. Like maybe that's when I'll join Spencer. Not now. I'm a little bit too busy right now. When I have the right business and I'm already generating 6 to 7 figures, then I'm going to join his program, right? But look, here's the reality. There's this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Spencer, do you hear that all the time?
All the time.
Spencer's course, my friends. But look, many of you have read this book. This is an oldie. It's one of the foundational personal development books that I've read, I wouldn't say hundreds of times, but I've read it no less than 20 times. But it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm going to change this. Sorry, Stephen Covey. I'm going to change this to 7 Habits of Highly Wealthy People. And I'm going to give you just one. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Now, when I first got into this space of wanting to become an entrepreneur, not entrepreneur, when I got into the space of wanting to take my financial practice from person to person, face to face to online, I joined Russell. Remember, I told you, you were one mindset, skill set, or connection away. I realized I needed a brand new mindset of what was possible around marketing. I needed more skill sets around how to build funnels and build marketing messages. And more than anything, I needed a community of like-minded individuals. I joined Russell Brunson's inner circle. And when I got there, one of the very first people that I met was Brandon and Kaylin Poulin. Many of you have heard of them. You know about them. These two are amazing. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with them early on. I'd been going to Russell Brunson's inner circle for probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years. And guess how much success I had? Like nothing. Every time I went, everyone had an opinion of what I should do, how I should build my funnels, how I should build my marketing messages. I should have a blue button or a red button, how I should build my webinars, whatever it was. And every single time I went away with a new tactic and I would go try that tactic and I would do a little bit of that. And then I'd go back and then I'd tear everything down. I'll try all over. And I kept trying all these different things, but I didn't have a coordinated, consistent strategy. Then I met these guys and they said, hey, here's how we were successful. We read Russell Brunson's book, 1 chapter at a time. We would read a chapter, then we would close the book. That's all we would do. Read a chapter and close the book. And then we would go do the thing that we just learned. And we wouldn't open that book back up until we'd already done the thing that Russell told us to do. Then we'd open it back up and we're like, oh, here's the next step. So then they close the book again and they go do the thing that Russell told them to do. This is how they built their business, going from living in their car to a multi-million-dollar business in their mid-20s. These two individuals changed the way I thought about money. And so I went out, I did the same thing with my business. And within 18 months, we went from having made 0 online to getting our 2 comma club. And then I can't remember what it is, the 2X award or whatever it is. But we went from making $1 million to $10 million in 18 months by doing 1 step at a time. Now, it wasn't easy. It was a ton of freaking work. I can't tell you how many times we had to iterate. But by focusing our efforts and doing the necessary work, this is what led to success. Now, as we started to get to know Brandon and Kaylin a little bit more, they started wondering what we did, and they wanted to do what we did. They were paying too much in taxes. I remember we talked to them one year during tax season, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we just paid a crazy amount of money in taxes." And we're like, "Do you know that's optional? You don't have to do that." And they're like, "I know, but it's going to be too hard to switch. We'll switch after the next quarter." And then then they didn't have enough reserves in their business bank account to cover their payroll one time, and that was a pretty stressful position for them to be in. So they did a launch. They did a launch to bring in more money that allowed them to cover their payroll. And we're like, "Do you know you can take money out of your business bank accounts and actually keep it as personal profit, so you don't constantly teeter-totter on the edge?" And they're like, we know. We want to set up a vault. We just don't have time for that right now. We'll do that next, right? And time after time after time, we kept sharing this with them. They saw how much cash flow we were generating for the people in our community. They're like, oh, we want to invest in those, but we'll do that after our next launch. We're launching a supplement. We'll do it after we get done with the supplement launch. Then one day they had their first kid. And when they had their first kid, their entire perspective changed. They now knew they had to build something that wasn't just for them, but that would outlive them. They came back and we built a foundation for them. And they've used that foundation to grow and scale over the years. In fact, as they went from, a couple $1 million to over $200 million, they shared with us over the years. They had, last time we did this, they had a 19% tax return rate, 19%. They've now built vaults and secured massive amounts of money in their vaults. They have cash flow for life. They did everything in scale as their business scaled. They made money, they kept it, and they turned it into cash flow. Now, if you follow Brandon and Kaylin at all, we took them to the Final Four earlier this year, and we were having a conversation with them. And then next week, Brandon sent this email out. And after 7 years being in business, growing a company, they were listed as one of the top fastest growing companies in the entire nation. They had served over 700,000 customers. They had made over $200 million. Because of COVID and the issues with supply chain and the costs, business just wasn't fun for them anymore. In fact, it was such a grind and so difficult. In April of this year, they wrote a long message saying, this is the most difficult message I've ever had to share, but they decided to shut their business down. And in addition to that, at the end of this long post that Brandon made, he said, there is a time and a season for everything under the heavens. And I love this comment here, because my question for you is, did these guys, did they get knocked out of the game? Were they part of the 85% or were they part of the 15%? What do you guys think? Most people would look at that and say they just got knocked out of the game. COVID knocked them out of the game. They were successful, they were superstars, and now they have nothing. But here's the reality of it. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity. They wanted to make a pivot. They have now 2 kids, and the business was taking so much of Kaylin's time. She's the attractive character in the business. And not only was COVID causing demands on their profitability, Kaylin didn't want to be as actively involved in the business anymore. She wanted to be a mom where she spent more time, effort, and attention on her family. They actively chose to walk away from the business, not because they had to, but here's the difference, because they could. Now, I want you to consider, what if they would have waited? Like, COVID was going to come and COVID happened whether they were ready or not. If COVID happened whether they were ready or not, they would have been part of the 85%. They would have been knocked out. If they hadn't made money, if they hadn't kept money, if they hadn't built a tax strategy, if they hadn't put their vaults in place, if they hadn't put their cash flow in place, they would have, like so many entrepreneurs, nothing to show for all of their efforts. Life, my friends, is going to happen one way or the other. You get to choose how it happens. It is either going to happen for you or it is going to happen to you. You are either going to be a victor, defining and creating success, or you are going to be a victim. Only you can choose that. That's the only way to do it. A sovereign entrepreneur knows that it's not if the economy is going to change. It's not if business is going to be changed. It's not if you're going to go out of business. It's when. It's about putting yourself in a position where you get to dictate and choose the nature of the game. This is what Tony Robbins means when he says the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the uncertainty you can comfortably live with. 85% of businesses out there, they fail because they get knocked out of the game. The 15% win because they get to dictate the terms at which they play the game, how they play it, when they play it, and for how long. And at the end of the day, my friends, becoming a sovereign entrepreneur, it's not easy, but it's not difficult either. It just comes down to having a will to win. It's a commitment to taking imperfect action. You'll never be ready to build a financial plan alongside your business. You have to build a discipline. Your discipline is required for the freedom that you want. You have to build a system that will scale both your business and your personal profits and cash flow simultaneously. You have to have a relentless focus on the 80-20 solution of making and keeping money and then investing for cash flow, and a desire to maximize your freedom, focus, and options. If you have the business, if you have a business that you're not happy with, or a personal financial plan that you're not happy with, the sad reality of it is you have the business that you've tolerated. You have the personal finances that you've tolerated. If you are ready for something different, then I'm going to end this webinar with an invitation. These are the most powerful questions that an entrepreneur can ask themselves. What do I want? Get really clear on that. What is it that you want? When I sat down and answered this question, I was a horrible father. I was an absent husband. I didn't even live in the same state as my family. When I sat down and asked myself and answered this question, I was scared of the person that I was. I wanted something different because I knew what I wanted, and then I emotionally committed to it. Sitting in that hospital with my son over those 2 weeks, if he would have passed away, I don't know if I ever could have forgiven myself. I don't know if I ever could have forgiven myself for the man that I was in the early years of his life. And so when I knew what I wanted and why I wanted it, then the most powerful question is I was not yet the person capable of being financially free. I had to create that person. In order to have the outcome that I wanted, I had to become someone different. And my friends, every single year at the very least, you should be asking yourself this question, because at the end of the year, your business, you get to create the business that you want. Every year when Brad and I do our annual planning, we both come in, and it's kind of a running joke with us, but we both come in with the intention of saying, hey, I quit. And the reason that we do that is then we get to go into the next year with the intention of, well, if I don't want to quit, what does the business need to look like to give me what I want to continue to play the game? I quit, or I'm going to create what I want to create in order to play the game that I want to play. Do you see how powerful that is? What do you want? Why do you want it? And who must you become? Mandy came to one of our events. I love Mandy. She's an entrepreneur. But like so many entrepreneurs, she came and she's like, I've had a major breakthrough. I have made a lot of money. It's like poker. I've been given the best hand you could possibly have. I should be so well off, but I am not. After working with Ryan Brad, I realized that the real wealth starts with building a foundation, just making money and keeping the money that you have. It's about putting yourself in a position where you see money differently. You understand how to use it like a tool. You build a system and a team around you, and that keeps you in your zone of genius. You go out, solve problems, get paid, make money, because that profit that you're making is a tool of validation that you're making a difference, and then keep the money that you've made. You now understand how to create untouchable wealth. You already knew you were paying it too much in taxes. I just validated it for you. And I gave you the framework to go from whatever you're paying down to a target tax rate on 20% on your active income and 0% on your passive income. You understand that the only reason you would ever invest outside of your business is to create cash flow for life independent of your business, to give you options and freedom. You understand the 3 strategies that I took you through. And at the end of the day, my friends, I think you now have the framework and the mission of what it takes to become a sovereign entrepreneur. This is the 15%. They operate differently than the 85%. The 85%, they're playing business. They're playing business. And when the game changes, they quit. When the game changes, they get knocked out. The 15%, they are committed. They are committing to building a business and a lifestyle simultaneously, and truly, truly changing the world and their lives as a result for doing that. I hope you walk away more than anything as the solution to your own financial problems and a commitment to become, along with us, a sovereign entrepreneur. The world needs you. The world needs you so bad. So that is what I have to share. Before I go into anything else, Spencer, you want to come on? Any questions out there? Anything that we didn't cover?
I'm still wrapping around it all. I mean, I really love the core of what you're talking about. Is just it's so well timed for me, because I just read the book. I just read the exact book that you mentioned, all the Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff, and now you're taking what was a 14-hour, book marathon on the way home, and you just threw it into a single hour for us.
Yeah. Well, my friends, I hope that this time was well served for you. I know that, look, money starts first and foremost in your minds. That's all it is. I mean, think about it really quick. Money doesn't really exist. I know that's a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. If you believe in paper money, it's just a piece of paper. If you believe in digital money, it's just a number on a computer screen. If you believe in cryptocurrency, it's just a symbol or a token of a mutual agreement of what money represents. So it starts first and foremost in your mind. It's a mindset. With the right mindset, it then is translated into a skill set. How do I take the mindset and use money as a tool to build and live a life that matters? And then more than anything, it does come down for an entrepreneur to having the right network around you. That's the idea and the concept that I shared with you of having a wealth strategist in unison, in yoke with you, going towards a commonly defined definition of success. So my friends, many of you at this point are 1 or 2 people. Like, you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to go back and I have all the permission I need to double down on my business. And if that's you, please, if you're in a position where you're just starting out, you're not making more than, I would say, $100,000 per year, all of your focus, every single bit of your focus needs to be there. Because if you can take the dollars that you have and drive that back into your business and turn it into 2 or 3 or 10, that is the fastest pathway. Remember, your business is the fuel that will fuel your path to financial freedom. So that's where you start. You start first and foremost making money. So for those of you that are in a position that know your money should be doing more, and you want to become a sovereign entrepreneur and never go back, right? You don't want to go up and down on the roller coaster. If you have a desire to save 5 to 6 figures in taxes, not once, but every single year. Remember, this is a framework. If you want to protect your wealth from future taxes, rising inflation, and market crashes by using a vault, if you want to become the CEO of a wealth system by working with a wealth strategist, or if you want to stay in control of your money while investing to create completely passive cash flow for life, then I do have an opportunity for you. Now, this is not for everyone, okay? So if this is you, then I want to take just a moment and I want to share with you how we help entrepreneurs like you, if you resonate with what I just said, get the results that I've talked about. Now, that's really what this comes down to. I shared with you at the beginning of this webinar the results that my business partner and I get. Yeah, we share a lot of information, but the information is to change your perspective. That's all it is. With a different perspective, you and I can look at the same thing and get radically different results because of a different perspective. So let me show you how we implement what I just shared with you to get results for you, okay? So here is what you need on your team. Number one, you need more education. You know, Spencer, you just said it. You read an 18-hour book. I mean, you know, Kiyosaki has so many different books, but you need more detail. You need more tactics. And in the education section of what we do, we've broken everything we do down into videos. We've broken everything that we do down into principles. And the thing I love about a principle is a universal truth. I'll be honest with you. We did not invent the principles that we share. We're simply learning. We've learned these principles because we wanted them for our own lives. And the cool thing about a principle is every time I'm not getting the result I want, it's a matter of realigning my actions and my behaviors with the principle. A principle is a universal truth. So first and foremost, we give education to help you understand the principles behind the tactics that I shared with you today. You'll understand what success and what done looks like. Okay, this will help you make, keep, and cash flow more of your money. Number two, you need a team. This is probably the most critical component in an entrepreneur scaling their game. You need the ability to step out of trying to communicate with your CPA, step out of the trying to communicate with an attorney, with a financial advisor, all of these people, and try to get them to work together for a commonly defined vision, because they all have different outcomes of what success is. Think about it this way. A CPA, of course, is going to tell you that you should put your money in an IRA and defer your taxes, because the CPA is trying to tell you what you save in taxes today. I told you that you should never defer your taxes, right? And if you have those two competing definitions of success and you're in the middle, it's really hard to coordinate a successful strategy. You end up getting a little bit of success here, a little bit of success there, but everything is undermining itself until you don't have a real plan or a real strategy, okay? You don't have to do this alone. In fact, this is what a family office is. We're bringing the entire team and everything that you need to get organized and to start implementing. Number three, you need opportunities. Now, I should have put some more opportunities in this presentation of what the cash flow investments are that we do. But, you know, Spencer, you and I live out here in Utah. One of our favorite ski resorts, you know, we have a $500 million project going right now. That might be a big number. That might be a small number, depending on your perspective. But building the only, literally, there is only one ski resort that has permission and is currently under construction right now, and it's happening here in Utah. Now, we don't just do investments in Utah. We do investments all over the place, but we spend the time curating and vetting private high-level investment opportunities. And the best thing about the investment opportunities that we bring to the table is everything is collateralized. What does that mean? Well, when you have collateral, you're not just putting your money into something that you hope goes up. You have an actual asset standing behind every dollar that you make. So our opportunities are what we call collateralized cash flow. So it's a way to increase your return, but actually decrease your risk at the same time. So this is what you need to get lasting results. In fact, these are the three mechanisms that we pull on depending on what phase of your business that you're in. Sometimes it's just 100% focused on getting you optimized to make and keep money. Sometimes once you've got that game figured out, it's then taking the money that you've kept and converting it into cash flow. Once you've deployed all your capital, it's then going back to your business and making more money and keeping more money and getting into this rhythm of making, keeping, and cash flowing the money that you have. This is how you get lasting results, okay? Now, in order to do this, we go through 4 different stages, and I've kind of shared these with you, but the number one focus about what we bring to the table is we never undermine who you are. We never undermine what you do. We understand as entrepreneurs that the fastest path for you to get what you need and want is to double down on your business. And so when we talk to you about investing, we always start with the conversation here. In fact, every one of our clients has a balance sheet of how much money they're investing back into their business through coaching, through certifications, through mentoring, through guidance, through scaling their team, through marketing, through infrastructure. This is the driver of your path to becoming financially free. When we went to Russell Brunson, it was so fun. He told us what he wanted in income, and guess what we told him? Here's how much money you have to make in your business to get it. We gave him a prescription of what he had to do in his business, and that motivated and inspired him, and it gave him permission to double down on the thing that intuitively he already knew was the right thing for him to double down on. Most investment advisors, they try to encourage you to take your money out of your business and go put it in someone else's business. Then the next thing that we spend time with you on is the 80% solution. This is the biggest thing. So many entrepreneurs come to us in pain, and I get it. That's where I started too, man. Around pain, around taxes. You need the framework that I talked about today, the structure put in place, and you need the ability to talk to your CPA. Have you ever felt like you and your CPA, you talk a different language, right? You're saying, I want to pay less in taxes, and your CPA is saying, well, you can't, you got to pay taxes. And you're like, well, what about deductions? And they're saying, well, you don't get deductions. You need a framework, and then you need a team to implement the framework. You need to know what done looks like. And so for us, everything is measured against a target tax rate on your active income. Then you need a framework to turn the money that you've kept into cash flow. This is the key to creating financial freedom. It's taking your business profits and turning them into personal profits. And then at the end of the day, we didn't talk too much about this, but like I said a little bit earlier, for us, so much of this comes down to cash flow is not a destination. Right? Think about the idea of retirement, the thing that we're told to plug into. Retirement is this idea that you make money and then you stop one day. And I don't know who defines 65, but like that's the idea of retirement. It's a destination. We talk about financial freedom as a lifestyle. And every single year, our entrepreneurs set targets. For me, I just became Spencer's neighbor, right? And I had a major upgrade in my expenses. We went from a house that was costing us X to a house that was costing us X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, right? And so in order to stay in integrity, before we did that, we increased our cash flow. I had to add $10,000 a month of cash flow to my bottom line to stay in integrity with the home that my wife and I just built. So this is what I talk about when I talk about cash or financial freedom as a lifestyle. And a legacy is not what you leave. That's a component of this, but a legacy is how you live. So we build all of this in combination with your financial plan to help you be in a flow where you make money, you keep money, you cash flow money, and you're living a wealthy lifestyle along the way. Okay. This is what it takes to get rich once and stay wealthy forever. Like, you know, and I'm using these words very intentionally. Rich is about money. We're going to help really define success by how much money you have, how much money you've made, how much money you've kept, and how much money you can cash flow. Money is such a good definition of success, but money and wealth are completely different. Money is a tool that will facilitate wealth, but wealth is about lifestyle. It's about experiences, about adventure. It's about living your most authentic life. And so we build this game to where we have a lifestyle target and we have a money target. And both of those two things are hit simultaneously. And so it's not a destination. It truly becomes a lifestyle. Now, here's what our team does for you, okay? Number one, we focus and implement your DTOM strategy. This is how the tax code works. We don't tell you you can't. We show you how we can do it, right? It's about having a target tax rate to use the tax code to save 5 to 6 figures in taxes right now, no matter where you're starting. Because the cool thing is when we started with Brandon, he was making about, he was actually making about $3 million when we started with him, but he scaled his business to making well over $3 million, and his tax DTOM tax strategy scaled with him. It's not something that has to be constantly rebuilt every single year. You have the framework, and the framework expands as your business expands. So that's number one. We start with entrepreneurs making sure your tax is in place. Number two, we bring curated investment opportunities to the table to create collateralized cash flow opportunities independent of your business. Once we've got the tax program figured out, we've got everything in place to reduce your taxes on your active income and eliminate them on your passive income, then it's time to start generating some passive income, right? So we do all of this through a mastermind that we call the Untouchable Wealth Mastermind. Now, for anyone that is interested, I'm going to explain to you what this mastermind is. You can go to this website here. It's untouchablewealth.com/now. untouchablewealth.com/now. Braden, if you're on, drop that in the chat there. But that's where you'll learn more about this. So here's what the mastermind focuses on. Number one, it's on the curriculum. Okay. I told you about the education, but this is on-demand education. Not all of you need information on taxes. Not all of you need information on investing. Not all of you will resonate or need information on legacy planning. So you have on-demand curriculum education, just like, you know, Spencer listened to the book by Robert Kiyosaki. That book was written 10 years ago. So when you need it, the education and curriculum is there. It's on demand. You have access to that. This will give you the principles that you need as an entrepreneur to get rich once and stay wealthy forever. Okay. This is what we've built for entrepreneurs. Now, the next thing is you have coaching. This is such a powerful piece because no matter how good our videos are, and no matter how how solid the principle is, you're a snowflake, right? I know that. I'm a snowflake too. I want to know how that principle applies to my life. And you need the ability to ask questions relative and specific to your circumstances, because every single one of us are starting in different spots. Our kids are going to college. They're not going to college. We're moving overseas. We're going to spend half our time in Costa Rica and half our time in the US, whatever it is. You need to understand how the principles apply to your situation, your resources, and your goals. So we have on-demand coaching as well with every aspect of the community. Remember, it's about taking the principle and getting results. And then the last part of this is it's about our community. I love this because I'll never forget, when I went to Russell Brunson's Inner Circle, I thought I was there for Russell. And I'll be honest with you, Russell was a tremendous inspiration for us. He gave us the framework, but I haven't talked to Russell too much about marketing. Right? When I went to the Inner Circle, and I've been going there now for 5 years, it was the people in the room. And I remember in the beginning, I had no idea how to earn a 2 Comma Club. I do financial stuff. I do insurance and taxes and real estate and all of that. How on earth do I earn a 2 Comma Club award? Right? But I remember going and watching all of these people. There was a dude one year that won a 2 Comma Club award, meaning he had made $1 million with his business. Guess what his business was? The dude sold hot dogs cart stands to retirees. And I remember I would go to these meetings and I would gain a sense of confidence and perspective. And I realized, man, if a guy selling hot dogs cart stands can figure out how to do it, I better be able to know how to do it. It started to build confidence and it started to build connections and community. In fact, that's how I met Spencer. Like, the community is such a powerful component. You're going to be with other like-minded, and I want to stress this, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, people that are there to use business as a tool to make an impact, to make the world a better place. That's what I believe business is here for, okay? We do all of this through an entrepreneur's playbook. We take all of these tools, all of these resources, and we build a uniquely structured program just for you. The entrepreneur's playbook is literally that. Think about a football team, okay? A football team, every single player on the team knows their role within the playbook every single game. And their role will change depending on who they're playing. But they know what the mission looks like. It's to win a Super Bowl. And for the individual, it's to be in the Hall of Fame. And everything is reversed all the way back down to the playbook to use the resources, the talents, and the services of every individual on the team within a playbook to get the outcome, to win a game, then to win division, then to win the championship, then to win the Super Bowl, and on it goes. That's how your playbook is built. And so the playbook, it works like this. Number one, it's about architecture, okay? It's establishing what success looks like. If you don't know what financial freedom means, man, this is such a power. I know it sounds easy, but like, it's so crazy. When we work with entrepreneurs, we show them, hey, here's where your money is at today, right? Have you ever considered how much income that will generate? We show them that, they're like, oh crap, that sucks. And then we say, well, what if we move your money over here into opportunity Y, and we show you how much cash flow that'll generate? Well, now we're talking about what the definition of success looks like. And now we can start to pick and choose where money goes in order to get what we actually want. It doesn't matter how much the asset grows. It matters how much income it's going to allow us. So we architect your game plan first. It's based on your goals and your resources. Those two things come together to determine how your architecture should be implemented. The next thing is, we then implement it, right? And everyone comes in with a different focus. But the implementation usually starts off with knowing what done looks like, knowing how to measure success, and then implementing your tax strategy and your investment strategy and your profitability strategy. There's, those different things in there. Then number 3, it's about optimization. You make money, you keep money, you cash flow money. And it's kind of like a little bit of a teeter-totter, right? You might be focused a lot on your business this year or this quarter. And then once you've made all your profits, then it's about how do I keep them and pay less in taxes. Then once you've got them, it's about how do I generate cash flow? Then how do I come back over here to the business and make? So it's constantly going back and forth of making money and keeping money. And it's optimizing your game plan, scaling everything towards financial freedom. Okay, so phase 1 usually takes us about 90 days. This is about getting the foundation set. Implementation, depending on how complex or easy your situation is, it'll take anywhere from 90 days. We've seen it take as long as 18 months, right? Some people, we have to be moving money all over the place. Some people, we're setting trust up. We're doing all kinds of different things. And then optimization, this is where it comes down to, it's a lifestyle, right? As your game plan grows, here's the cool thing. Your dreams grow with it, right? As your dreams grow and you know how to use money as a tool, your desire to go back and create what you want to create, to have money be the tool to facilitate the desires that you have. This is why we call it a lifestyle. Cash flow greater than expenses is a game that you get to play. So All of this is done with a team. So I talked to you about the will, right? And taking you out of the middle and getting the right person in the middle. You have a wealth strategist. That wealth strategist brings all of the different people on the team together in a coordinated effort to help you get the results of paying less in taxes, generating collateralized cash flow, and having your attention back to focus on what done looks like and back on your business. So with that in mind, let me tell you really quick what our team does. I'm going to tell you all the details. Now I'm going to kind of sum it up here. In fact, I'm going to go through this pretty quick. Number one, we're going to go through order of wealth. There is a very specific order that we need to consider how to build your game plan. Number two, we're going to design your tax strategy. We're going to show you the exact infrastructure that you need in place based on what you're working with to minimize and lower your taxes, not just once, not a loophole that we're chasing, but for life. Okay. Number three, we're going to set up and implement your vault. The vault is going to help you make money and keep it. What would your life look like if you made money and then you kept it, and then you made money and then you kept it, and then you made money and then you kept it? Every single year, the level of abundance will go up. Last but not least, it's collateralized cash flow, where you bring curated deals and opportunities to the table, like the one I kind of mentioned earlier of the ski resort that we're building out here in Utah that is going to give our investors massive amounts of tax efficient cash flow. I forgot I was going to put deals in here. So imagine really awesome deals. They would be right here. And you'd be like, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And then you'd be like this, happy, happy, happy. I forgot to put the deals in there, but that's kind of what it would look like if the deals were in there. Number two, implementation. So we're going to take your framework. I'm going to implement it. This is what our team is doing for you. And here's what it looks like. You're going to have your playbook. This is customized and designed for you. And here's the cool part. It's the 80-20 solution. We, the 80%, we know what we need to do. You're the CEO, you know what done looks like. And we talk to each other about done and success. And we're constantly updating each other on here's what our team is doing. Here's how it's driving you towards what you want. This is how your playbook is operated by our team and what we do in that process. We do monthly training calls. Now, when I say monthly, it's not one a month. It's usually 2 to 3 a month because we talk about taxes. If you have a tax question, every single month, we're doing training on taxes. We're talking about the vault. We're talking about cash flow. We've been doing a ton of cash flow calls this month because our investors have opportunities to participate in. We do quarterly cadence workshops. These are optional, but they're highly encouraged. This is where we spend 2 days and we do a deep dive either on the comprehensive strategy or on a component of the strategy. We just got done doing a comprehensive deep dive on legacy planning and helping people understand how to build a legacy, how to use estate planning and insurance and all that kind of stuff. So these are quarterly workshops done in Utah. You get to come hang out with us in our backyard, and we show people how to connect with the community and take a deep dive into something that's relevant to them. And then, like I said, we build a community. I love this part of what we do because, yeah, we're leading the charge, but more than anything, we learn so much from the people in this community. I know you will as well. It's about education, connection, and collaboration. It's been so awesome to watch this community collaborate with each other and take what's working in one business and apply it to another business and watch everyone's businesses rise together and scale together. So that's really what this is. And my friends, I like to think about this. I don't know if you played Nintendo back in the day, but this is kind of like your cheat code. This is up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, A, B. Like, Spencer, I don't know if you resonate with that, but that's the cheat code that I just gave you for an entrepreneur. It's about putting yourself in a position where you can be a sovereign entrepreneur, where you do create untouchable wealth. If this is right for you, go to untouchablewealth.com/now. And I've told you about Russell's story. You know, Russell, he's inspired and helped us so much. And I think we've done the same for him. Like when we first met him, he was in scarcity. When we first met him, he never wanted to go back. Now, if you see him, in fact, I'm going to share something kind of personal. He's used his vault to, if you're watching him right now, he's like buying millions of dollars of crazy books, but he's using his vault as the line of credit to build his library, like all these crazy. And so it's so fun to watch him live a purpose-driven life. You know, we met with Rachel Pedersen. Rachel Pedersen's awesome because she's this influencer. And, you know, she came from absolute poverty when you understand her situation, but she now knows for the first time ever how to build a passion-based business because she can make money. And guess what she can do? She can keep it. Like that's as simple as it needs to be for Rachel. She knows how to make money and keep it. It becomes so simple for her. Jason Rash, he's an entrepreneur. I think now he has over 30 cash flowing units that we've helped him acquire these last several years that we've been working with him. And he decided to move from Colorado to Florida because of the cash flow. Like he wanted to live in a warmer situation for his wife, Brooke. And so he wasn't tied to a location because he had the freedom to choose where he wants to operate his business based on the cash flow that he had generated. Brandon and Kaylin Poulin already told you about their story. But guys, this is how you become a sovereign entrepreneur and never go back. Now, I want to be one last thing because I hope some of you are going out there and applying for this. Untouchablewealth.com/now. This is not a high volume program. Now, like many entrepreneurs, or like not many entrepreneurs, but like online businesses, it's all about volume. Get as many people in as you can, have these big, memberships, because we're just selling education. We use education to get results. That's really what we do. The education was meant to give you a different perspective. So as you can see, this is a high touch program. And because of the high nature of involvement that we have with you and your finances and the teams and the infrastructures that we bring to the table, we only take on 5 new applicants every month. Like, that's all we want to work with every single month. So we only work with 5 new people a month. And that's okay. We put people on a wait list all the time. But the reason you're seeing this right now, we love Spencer. I mean, Spencer has done something that so few people will actually do. He's built a successful, profitable affiliate marketing business, and he sustained that success over many years. My friends, that is such a unique feat in this industry. And so we wanted to bring this opportunity to you as a business owner following Spencer. We only work with 5 new people a month. So if you feel like this in any way is the right opportunity for you, go to this URL and apply. That's all we're doing. We only take applications because we highly vet who we allow into this program. So let me save you just a little bit of time. If you're liking anything we talked about, I want to tell you who we are not right for first, okay? Look, you've all heard the saying, you can do easy hard, right? This is what most people do, right? They're going to take their money problems and they're going to avoid them today. They're going to, defer their taxes, not worry about investing until someday down the road, wait till their next launch is done, wait till their taxes are paid, whatever. So they're going to take the easy route now. And all they're doing is they're delaying the inevitable hard time. And this is where we meet most people. They've worked for 10, 15, 20, 30 years being an entrepreneur, having success and failures along the way, and they have nothing to show for it. And now they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to get this game figured out. Otherwise, I'm stuck forever. So you can, if you're trying to do it easy and waiting for hard one day, I promise you we're not right for you. Now, what we do is not difficult, but it is going to require your attention. It's going to require your commitment. So if you're willing to have your attention and your commitment and do a little bit of hard work so you can have easy on the back end, then that's who we're right for. We're not right for, hey, I want it all easy, push button, I don't want to do anything. Well, that's not us, okay? If you're just starting out and hoping this will save you, my friends, yes, the tax code is amazing. Yes, it does wonders, but it will not save you from a business that is not successful and profitable. If you are just starting out, double down on your business. If you do not have a consistent way to make and keep money personally in your life, if you're not paying yourself out of your business or you just barely started, just double down and focus on your business. Take your attention, your best resource, and scale a business. We like to work with business owners that have the ability to make no less, personally, $100,000 a year. Because with $100,000 a year, you can usually pay your living expenses and have a little bit of money left over to start to think about how to generate financial freedom. Now, ideally, we like people to be closer to the $250,000 range, but man, we work with so many entrepreneurs going from 100 to 250, no problem. So that's kind of the definition for us. So if you're unwilling to drive your results, my friends, do not apply. We're not the right team for you. If you're not wanting to build and scale a purpose-driven business, we've had a couple people come into our world, and you know how when you get around someone and you're like, oh, dude, I just feel gross just being around them. Man, we've had a couple business owners, they're using business in a very manipulative, destructive way. I will not work with those type of people. So we highly vet the type of individuals. We work with integrity-based people who are using their business to serve, to solve problems. If you don't resonate with the mission of becoming a sovereign entrepreneur, my friends, we're never going to be on the same page as you. We view the world through freedom is your birthright. And we use everything that we do to put you in a position of options and choice. If you think money is bad, it's evil, it's not good, then guys, it's going to be really hard to communicate with us. Money is a fantastic scoreboard, and money is a tool of validation that you are making a difference. If you're constantly trying to avoid money, then we're not the right people for you. But if those things, if you're like, man, that's not me at all, then go here and apply. untouchablewealth.com/now. And if you're still on this webinar right now, then you're probably one of these 3 people. Give it to me right now. I can't believe this. Let's go. I want to save all the money in taxes. I want cash flow for life. All you got to do is go here. Book this call on untouchablewealth.com/now. Here's what we're going to do. There's 4 steps. Okay. Number 1, you're going to fill out an intake form. You're going to tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to use that intake form as the first gateway to determine whether or not you're in the right state as a business owner and the right state mentally for us to work with you. If you pass that first threshold, well, we're going to reach out to you regardless and tell you what we do. But if you pass that first threshold, then we're going to reach out with you and schedule a one-on-one appointment. That one-on-one appointment is going to be our opportunity to step into your world. Now, the thing I love about this, I want you to imagine for a moment if you made me king for a day. Okay. You're going to tell me about yourself. You're going to tell me about your finance. You're going to tell me about your business. You're going to tell me about your goals and your aspirations. I'm then going to come to the table and I'm going to say, cool. I know what I do and what our team does. I know what's possible. And if you gave me king for a day permission inside of your financial world, here's exactly what is possible for you. We show you the possibility and we break it all the way down to exactly what you need to do, the milestones that you need to do to make that possibility a reality. That's what your initial strategy session looks like. You'll see not exactly, but a very good ballpark of immediately how much taxes you can and should be saving. You'll see exactly what's on the table and what's possible going forward by having the right structure in place. You'll see immediately what's possible from an investment standpoint. We've had so many people that came in, and Nissa Holmes, she's a great example. She came in thinking she was stuck. And all we did is said, hey, king for a day. You're going to move your money from here to here and boom, you are financially free already. You just didn't know it. Like that's exactly what we do, showing you how this program works. We put you into this structure and say, here's what your financial life would look like if you were operating this way. Then if it's a right fit for you and us, then we do everything I told you about in the mastermind and we implement your game plan. So that's all we need to do is go to untouchablewealth.com/now. And last but not least, a lot of people disqualify themselves. Now, if you want to disqualify yourself for one reason or another, that's okay. But I want to invite you to consider the possibility that if you're constantly disqualifying yourself from opportunities, then opportunities will stop showing up for you. But here's the reality. You do not need any investable capital to get going. Like I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs we've started off with who are like, I don't have any investable capital. Well, where does this investable capital come from? Man, if we're saving you 5 to 6 figures in taxes right now, and like we did with Josh 40, going back and getting taxes that you have already paid back in your pocket, dude, investing becomes so easy, right? So you don't need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank just waiting for you to deploy it. You don't need investable capital. We're going to show you how to create that. You don't need a tax team in place. In fact, a lot of times it's easier if you don't have one in place. Now, if you do, you can bring them to the table. That's okay. But you don't have to have a tax team in place. We're going to give you a tax strategy that any CPA worth their weight in gold can implement that tax strategy. Now, we'll implement it for you if you want, but our focus isn't to do all your taxes. Our focus is to help you with the tax strategy. You don't need a financial advisor. If you do have a financial advisor, go ask them, how much cash flow am I getting? And when am I getting it? And if they can't answer that question, then you probably don't have a financial advisor. You have someone that's taking your money and putting it into an employee system. You don't need in-depth knowledge of investing strategies. All you need is a will to win and a commitment to do what's necessary. So my friends, at the end of the day, like I mentioned, these are the results that we've got, right? 16 years in business, millions of dollars in tax saved, $52 million in capital secured in the vault that I explained to you, 2,200 separate cash flow transactions, generating over $1.5 million, not to our pockets, but to your pocket, right? To our investors' pockets inside of this community. And I hope more than anything, you got a new sense of perspective. I love the mountains of Utah because for me, when I'm hiking up a mountain, it's interesting. I can only see what's directly in front of me and what's directly behind me because of the scale and the nature of a mountain. Trees and turns around the mountain kind of block your view and vision. But when you get to the top, this is a hike called Angel's Landing. When I get to the top, you can see I have a whole different perspective. I saw where I came from and I saw what's possible. I hope now today, more than anything, my friends, you have a different perspective of what is possible with the right framework and the right understanding of what money is and the framework for what, how entrepreneurs should be operating their financial plans. You now have a radically different framework that will take you from the 85% who are hoping to play business to the 15% who are building business systems. That is my hope for you today. And I hope this time was well served for you. So Spencer, with that in mind, that was a whole lot of fun. What did we leave out?
Oh man, dude, I love talking about this stuff. The one thing I would add is like most people don't love talking about this stuff, right? Like I could listen to you talk all day long and just like enjoy the whole conversation. For the 95% of people that just like don't want to like, explore life insurance and learn all this stuff all day long and talk stuff all day long, this is how it's done, right? Like this is why you bring in a team. The team does it for you, and you talk about it a lot at the beginning. And then you don't have to spend your life like worrying about this stuff. You can focus on the stuff that you do enjoy doing, like all the people building businesses and stuff like that. And I'm a little different than most people, but for me, like anyway, that was awesome. I love it.
Well, Spencer, man, I like I said earlier, the number one thing that I want to just respect you and your community for is your time. Like I know the person you are, so I can have a pretty good guess of the people you're attracting. So, my friends, you just invested 2 hours of your time. I hope more than anything you convert the knowledge that you gained into wisdom. And those two things sound like the same word. Right? I've got knowledge and I've got wisdom, but they're two radically different things. I would invite you to consider that today. Knowledge is cheap. You know, Robert Kiyosaki has written a book that has touched millions, millions and millions of lives, from Rich Dad, Poor Dad to Cash Flow Quadrants. He shared a framework that has touched millions of lives. He's given knowledge to people for a very low price. But here's the difference. I would say probably 5% of the people who have gained the knowledge that Robert Kiyosaki has shared have had any meaningful, lasting results inside of their life. So the way you convert knowledge to wisdom is by doing something with it. Knowledge in your head, that is so cheap. Go buy an Audible book. You just listen to me for 2 hours, I think for free, right? So look, at the end of the day, the knowledge that you have is cheap. It's what you do with it that will change your life. And that change in life, those results, that's when your perspective changes. So my friends, I want to thank you again for today, Spencer. Dude, you're a stud. You're my neighbor. Let's go on a mountain bike ride. I'm feeling all fired up right now. So let's go make it happen.
Let's do it. Thanks so much, Ryan.
See you, Spencer.